Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Somehow I can't start the camera today. Huh. All right, probably doesn't matter.
Hello.
Pretty good.
What you been up to now?
What am I up
You know,
to?
kids and
Should we get started, or are we waiting on someone?
I think we're good.
I think we're ready to go.
All right. So let's talk about 0.6. Looks like there are just two minor issues left, although I have a question about one of them.
Can you share the board with some?
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
And is there an update from Devesh on the long haul and load testing that was running all weekend?
No, we haven't seen him yet this morning. That's the first question we need to ask.
There we go. Okay, can you guys see my window?
Yes.
I'll make it bigger. Is that better?
Yeah.
So I looked at the pending release notes, and I think there was a discussion in there about the experience around CFFS and multi namespaces. Steve, do you feel like you got the feedback you needed here, or?
Yeah. So what I got from the team is that if you're a new kernel, when I say new kernel 4.4 or up, you're fine. But if you're an older kernel, what's going to happen is that if a user requests an attachment for a file system, it would check whether you have two or more namespaces, meaning two or more file system server. If you do, error out, say, hey, you know what? You need to delete one because I don't know which one you want to attach to. If there's only one, and this can be done easily by checking CRD, if there's only one, then I'll proceed to do the attachment by not passing the namespace option.
Wait, so how are you going to check? Where is the check happening?
So it's not going to be a check. It's just going to be, I'm going to try. And if you fail with an error, then I'll do I'll try to pass in without the option when there's only one file system created.
So you're going to count the number of file systems?
Yes. Well, count. I'm going to do each file system is created via CRD object, right? So I'm going to get a list and I want to count that. If there's more than one, that means that we don't know which one the user wants to attach to.
I'm not sure you can entirely rely on CRDs being the authoritative, bookkeeping for that, since people could always use the Ceph tools or rookctl or something like that. So I'm not sure CRDs can be entirely authoritative.
Well, why not just do basically just always, for kernels that are 4.7 and higher, pass the namespace option. And for ones that are older, don't pass the namespace option, and then we'll just document that the behavior is undefined if you do multiple file systems.
Okay, it's just that I thought that behavior being undefined was a big thing in case, because we're dealing with file system and data here. So I wouldn't want to trick the user that, hey, your attach actually succeeded, but the user meant to attach to a file system number 2 instead of file system number 1, for example.
I feel like if we document clearly that if you're running multiple file systems and you have nodes with older kernels, then you should be careful. That might be okay for now.
Well, using multiple file systems is still just an experimental feature too. It's not
exactly. That's why I feel like it seems like a reasonable trade-off for now to say just document it. Have the behavior be that we work everywhere for a single file system, and we work well for multiple file systems on 4.7 and above.
Okay. And do you want to do like a uname-r type of check, or do you want to just run the mount command, and if you fail, run it again without the namespace option. And if you fail, then you fail. Do you want to do that?
Is that's happening within the Rook agent pod?
The Rook agent pod is just running once, and then if you fail, it gives up.
But I think that the distinction is they're trying to make is that in the agent pod, or is that in the Flex driver?
Oh, sorry, Flex driver. Yeah, correct, Flex driver.
In the Flex driver, you don't have access to. I mean, you obviously you can do uname clearly, but you wouldn't be able to do things like get CRD counts in the first place at all either, would you?
You could remember through the Unisocket.
Oh, so going to the agent pod though. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And if it fails, if you pass the option and it fails, do you have a clear error saying that it failed because of the option?
No, it would just fail that mount. It would fail that mount option not supported. Something very generic. That's what I get back from the kernel. It says that mount file type not supported. It doesn't say anything about the namespace option.
I see.
It's something very generic. What I can do is, yeah.
If you're going to count CRD, I wonder if. Oh, I see. Well, in that case, it seems like it might be good to check the kernel version.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Why not? What about the simpler approach Steve mentioned, which is let's just try it with the attribute that's not supported down level, or with the older kernel. If it fails, we'll just try it without that option. That would work for all kernels, but assume one.
Well, does that? I'm trying to figure out if that improves the experience or not. It seems like we won't be able to tell. I mean, it could be the failure could be for any reason.
It could be. Yeah, well, if we can detect that case, then the retry seems like the simplest approach.
But it doesn't seem like we can.
Yeah, we cannot detect whether it failed because of the option is not supported on that kernel version.
What if we did the following? What if we I'm trying to think of like at a cluster wide level. What if we did something like only one file system is supported, unless and somebody has to enable multiple file systems. They basically have to understand that they have to have newer kernels.
Yeah. So this is you remember the design one page that I created for provisioning. So this would allow the admin to create the file system via storage class. So that would be the better control there.
Okay, so for 0.6, would it be safe to say that we can just if you pass the option and on an older kernel it fails, right?
Correct.
That's how it is today with no change. It just will fail on older kernel.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I wonder if the right solution right now is to check the kernel version, check if it's safe to pass the option, and then just document that multiple file systems are only supported if on nodes that are running 4.7 and above. For now, Ceph Fuse will fix that in the future, but for now, for 0.6, if you want to use multiple file systems, you have to ensure that you're running your kernels.
Okay. There are some cases, especially Red Hat, what they do is that they start with a base kernel and then they add more.
Yeah, they patch it. Yeah, and that's okay. I think this is not a long-term solution. It's just let's just do that for now.
Okay.
And when we have Ceph Fuse support, then this issue goes, we fix it for all kernels essentially.
Okay.
So the question then is this required for .6? Or, or is it
Well,
small?
the behavior that we have right now is that we're telling people go revert back to the old CephFS plugin. I think that should be fixed.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I also am not a big fan of that approach either, because it's basically pointing at telling them to use a different solution outside of Rook that doesn't even actually fix the problem either.
Yeah. So I feel like we should at least fix that.
Okay. So we take in the kernel version, and if it's greater than 4.4 or above, we use the namespace option. If it's not, then we don't use it, and then we print out like a warning error. You see.
Is it 4.4 or 4.7?
4.4.
Oh, okay.
Correct. 4.7. Yes. 4.7. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
4.4 is what reproduces the problem for me. Yeah.
All right. So is this a quick fix you can make, Steve?
Yes. I should have a patch today with documentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so what's up with 1190 then? Add workaround logs for failed mount of CephFS.
So because we kind of like pivoting, we can abandon this one. This I was just telling the user to use the workaround, which is to use the Kubernetes.
Yeah, we should abandon this one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the result on testing? Sounds like there was testing over the weekend on.
Yeah, we've been running a load test. It's been looking good. Looking at the memory, I don't see any memory issues like that were reported last time. It's pretty flat. And yeah, tests are going fine too. I've been killing pods, like looking at the EMC and.
Okay.
So you mentioned 4 failures, but do you think those are test issues?
They're test issues. And also it's killing pods. I'm trying to see if they're related to that. Okay. When the test retries and the next one's pass.
Okay.
I feel like it's some test issue.
So if Steve makes this change, sounds like it's a scope change that we won't have to run through the whole testing again. It's only on the CephFS path.
Right. We'll probably do a full regression pass and.
Yeah. But I'm asking about long haul testing. Do you feel like we have to do it long haul again?
No, I don't think so. Not for the CephFS one.
Okay.
We're not doing a long haul for CephFS right now.
And Devesh, so for my own reminder here, the levels of testing that we have are the integration tests that just run as part of continuous integration on every pull request.
Right.
Then we have a full regression pass, which is longer and incorporates more things. And then we also have long haul that runs over like an entire weekend. So that's kind of those 3 levels.
Yeah. The full regression actually it's exactly like our CI integration, but we are running it on a 3-node cluster with multiple raw devices. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Integration testing.
All right.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say then we could shoot for a Wednesday release?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yes. I should be able to get the patch today.
For
Okay.
week or tomorrow? No. I mean, if the fix.
Well, or sooner. I mean, that's fine. And then so and there's some social activity around this too, right? We have to get your blog out and
Right.
a bunch of things around this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the performance blog, I'm working on some updates.
Okay.
Will be on the blog for the release itself.
Yeah, I think we should do something. And then we have to communicate. So the plan is 0.6 is still alpha.
Everything or even for block?
Even for blog.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then And then 0.7 prior to KubeCon being where we declared beta.
Yeah. So we should talk about 0.7. But let's wrap up 0.6. Okay, so either tomorrow or Wednesday we'll tag it, get the release stuff all sorted out, and then hopefully we can get a couple of blogs on this. One about the EBS volumes, and then the other about the actual release. Make sense?
That's it.
Yeah, there are a couple other issues I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. Which ones?
So there's 1185, which was, Jared, looks like you had a pool fail in the toolbox when you tried to create a pool.
1185.
Right. I might be surprised if that was a consistent issue. Jared, was that consistent for you? Remember the?
So I tried it. I got it one time, and then I did not try it again. I just reused the existing replica pool. So it was 100% repro, but only one test case. So no further data on that.
Yeah, if it fails consistently, it's likely.
And that's only through Rook CTL, or is it also through the CRD?
I have seen no pool CRD failures. I think this might be. My gut feels this would only affect the Rook CTL.
Okay, which is now a deprecated scenario.
True.
Okay. Okay.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As I sadly have an appointment in a few minutes, I just have a quick update from my side about KubeCon. I just got my flight booked today, so I will definitely be there.
Yay.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. By the way, just one small thing from my side. I posted about, I think it was 1194. It's about the resource constraints. And if anybody has something against me implementing user-defined resources there, limits and requests, because I would work on that.
Go ahead, Bassam.
I was going to say, this sounds totally reasonable. I would say, Alexander, let's start with a design doc, just to get feedback at that level before you dig deeper.
Yeah, so this is Shang also. I'm the reporter of this bug, and I also have some idea of what that might work better for us at least. So love to kind of have a discussion before we do anything.
We'd love to do that. If you guys want to put together a design doc, even with just goals and scenarios, and then we can dig deeper. We can even get a meeting together if you'd like to discuss.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
But I think it makes sense to start with a design doc, like open a pull request, get a design doc in there. It goes in the /docs/designs tree. And then, yeah, this sounds like a very, very important feature.
Yeah, good. Who was the reporter again? I didn't catch the name.
Shang.
Shang. Could you, I don't know, how about you hit me up on Slack with a private message and we work something out and write something. Good. Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Awesome. Yeah, we can try to see if this could be part of the 0.7 release, if you guys can drive it through.
Yeah, can I also kind of advocate for the other one, the pull request 1188?
1188.
Yeah, try to make
Is
the
it open
OSD.
already?
Sorry, yeah, 1188.
This one, I see.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of one of the first that I want to do in terms of kind of least privilege possible. Essentially, for the most part, is just to make kind of security context clear on what each pod is supposed to do. If it doesn't need to run in privilege mode, we don't do that. And I believe for Ceph, they all need to run as root, and the root file system has to be rewrite. But at least if you make that explicit, the security context in different modes should have no problem handling that. Right now, it's all implicit. And
yeah, we had a discussion about this when we in the past, and I think the goal was exactly what you're outlining here. We'd like to get to a least privilege approach on all pods.
Right.
Jared, you looked at this a little bit, right?
This pull request or like the greater design?
The design where we run least privileged on the pods.
Yeah, I looked at that a while ago, and it was, I think, the basic gist of it was the whole separation between, provisioning the storage and then, running the storage daemon. That, the provisioning part often has to be, privileged, but that could be a one-time thing. And then the longer-term running daemon would be, can run at lower privilege.
So Shar, I think we can take this as part of 0.7. Our goal is actually to get to a point where we don't have any privileged containers at all. But that's going to require, some work in Kubernetes to support local storage, and maybe the local storage can do the mounting of devices and all of that.
Right.
I don't think we're there yet, but it would be great if Rook can run without any privileged containers.
Right. And also the security context, right? So in addition to the privilege mode, just make the security context explicit as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable, Sean.
Yep.
So I think this, if we can, if we can continue on this as part of the 0.7 release, it makes a ton of sense.
I was kind of curious here. I wanted to have a bit of a bigger discussion, not long, but just to get a better idea of what your use case is, Sean, because it seems like you're one of the first people that we've seen run into this sort of a more lockdown environment where you don't want to use any local devices and such. And I kind of want to get a better idea of, do you know if that's, a fairly common scenario? And then beyond that, what I'm kind of worried about is that, it seems like you want to go in a direction where, kind of like Menayo is what you're mentioning, is that you're only using kind of aggregating temporary, storage together to build a greater storage network. And I'm wondering if, I haven't seen OSDs work very well with that, where they tend to be wanting to have an entire disk.
So I think a lot of those conversations actually belong to two separate topics. One is how can I get Rook up and running with a minimum amount of efforts, or make the least assumptions, right? And part of that is then, and kind of in our environment, that assumption obviously just stand right at you, right? It just doesn't work. We actually would allow people to mount local storage. The problem is, there's really no good story on how managing who owns what local storage resources yet. Right? So what we have been trying to do is to build support into our cluster so that it's, for example, use the integer or extension resource to manage the quota of that. But then as a result, we don't expose the raw devices to our users. And to make the cluster-wide, so we can build a cluster-wide FS or Rook for other people to use. But I can imagine in some scenario, people will just like, hey, I'm going to kind of spend some money, buy some storage, and have the cluster operations guy put it in there, and have a way of just build my own cluster out of that.
So would local storage work for your scenario here? If Kubernetes managed the devices as resources with local storage, would that work?
Yeah, I think that will work better.
Okay,
yeah.
So our goal is to get to a point where Rook is running on top of local storage.
Right.
I mean, really any persistent volume, but typically we think the common scenario will be local storage. But you can put it on top of EBS or Google Persistent Disk if you wanted to.
Right.
And then, if the mounting and formatting and all that stuff that happens with these devices is done by the local storage provider, then we should be able to run without privileged and with the least privileged security context.
Right. So right now, what we end up is going to do is we're going to just use flex volume to mount pre-formatted LVM volumes into Rook, and that will work too, and doesn't require elevated privilege.
And then you'll just use the data host path. The data
I don't need to, right? Because then I can modify the path to just mount the flex volume into the expected directory.
Yeah.
Because if you use host path, then I have mounted that on the underlying host. I cannot just have the pod mount that into its own storage namespace or file system namespace. I think that is the cleaner solution. So I would prefer to have the pod. So I actually was talking about in the in the Slack room is I would prefer to add an option so I can just say, hey, additional volume mount that you may want to use, right? And then the OST essentially put that into the pod template, right? So it's a flex volume mount blob, and just put that in there, and then the volume will be injected into that pod.
So I wonder if it sounds like there are two things here. There is the how do we make our pods run least privileged, and that we should just fix in 0.7. And then the other discussion is really, I think it dovetails into the local storage design that Travis has. So maybe we could make sure that your scenarios are captured as part of that design. Because I think there's more work to be done on the Kubernetes side for local storage.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we get a solid design and we can push the changes both in Rook and in Kubernetes as needed. So maybe this sounds like this pull request should be scoped to just the least privileged piece.
That's correct. Yep.
And then the larger design discussion we should have in the context of local storage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So Travis, can you maybe work with Shaw on this? I make sure we have all the design captured.
Yeah, definitely.
I think local storage is going to be the next big push for us. If it doesn't make it in 0.7, it'll hopefully be soon after that.
Yeah, just depending on the work they're doing in 1.9 for local storage.
Well, you've heard me before. I think we should help there too. We should help make the changes. Especially it's part of external storage now. So okay. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? Okay, so it sounds like we wrap up 0.6 in the next few days, and then we have a couple of designs that need to come in, and I think we should talk a little bit about the theme for 0.7, given that it's potentially a shorter milestone.
Have you guys gone through all the issues and triage them, make sure there's nothing that will be required for 0.6? I'm just asking because there's been a lot of new things recently.
Yeah, so 0.6, we're just going to roll up to where it is right now. There's been a bunch of work on this, and it's a Rook agent, and some people are just waiting for the tag to start using it. It's still alpha. It's still missing a bunch of things. I think the plan is that hopefully we'll do what you just said, Steve, for the 0.7 release.
Yeah, it'd be great to spend time on what's in 0.7 because
Agree.
Out there and 0.5 is a lot of big.
Agree.
I think, that being said, I think one of the ones that was kind of concerning me, because just within the last week, I think I had heard like 3 separate people mention it as an issue, is that the Rook API pod seems to be pegging a CPU for some people. I don't remember it acting that way before. So it's not a feature request, but it's kind of a concerning issue.
And on which path is the API used right now?
Mainly, one big thing is metrics. That's a huge thing. But and Alexander had already started working on using the built-in Ceph Manager module for Prometheus.
Yeah, so I'd advocate for 0.7 that we make the API optional. Like you'd have to explicitly turn it on.
And I haven't seen this issue either. I've actually seen the Kubernetes dashboard pod taking a bunch of CPU. But anyway, there's definitely some cleanup there. It doesn't seem like it blocks 0.6 though, since it's not widespread. Yeah.
Okay. All right, should we talk a little about 0.7?
Yes.
Maybe just identify a little bit of themes. I don't think we need to lock it all in, but so obviously this has changed now. We're now saying 0.7 is the beta release.
So if we go to the milestone definition, that's where we edited, added a bunch of text right there.
I really wish this supported formatting, by the way. No matter what you do, it's just a flat lit or flat paragraph.
Well, if you click on edit, it's formatted. It's clever that way. But probably we need to refactor this a little bit, given what we've just discussed.
Yeah, and if you're gonna try to line this up for KubeCon, I don't see. It seems like it's quite a bit.
Yeah, I think most of this even goes into 0.8 if 0.7 is really just to do.
Yeah.
So the first bullet changes to beta.
And this literally means the CRD for cluster and pool become, have a beta in their namespace name or whatever their DNS name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so mon reliability, I saw the design on this. Yeah, local storage is the big one, and I think the one that requires probably more work outside of Rook.
Yeah. I'd say it's risky for 0.7 given we depend so much on that external.
Agree. Automated upgrades.
Well, I think that moves to 0.8. We don't need automated upgrades till after we declare beta, right?
Well,
I mean, nice to have.
if you expect a beta release to upgrade itself, then you need it in the first beta release.
Would it be required to upgrade? Would only be required to upgrade after that, right? So like from 0.7 to 0.8.
Yeah, but you have to have the upgrade facility in 07 if that's beta. If the definition of beta is it can upgrade itself, then the first beta release has to have the logic to upgrade itself.
How are we going to declare 0.6 beta before without it? Then? I thought it the next release.
I think the thinking was that the release that supported the auto upgrade could, somehow trigger that on the -1 version.
As in, you upgrade the operator manually and then it does the rest?
Right.
Yeah, you run some command if you're on the older version, and it initiates the auto upgrade with the new version. So it's sort of a push upgrade as opposed to a pull upgrade.
I see.
That was the thinking.
That would work.
I mean, it's not optimal, but it's a way to meet the end user need.
Yeah, I think that would work. Yeah, so I think from a theme standpoint, I'd say obviously mon reliability, this local storage thing, and run everywhere. Those are pretty big. The operator running HA is just a little feature. Or at least make optional. Because there's some code paths that still require those, right? Outside of Rook.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I thought we talked about not worrying about making them optional, just declare them as deprecated and going away soon.
Yeah, I don't see how we do CRD validation until we definitely have to engage the API sig here. And then we had talked about at least privilege.
API and CLI optional. So didn't we talk about before not worrying about that and just saying they'll go away at some point?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm wondering if whoever wants to use them can start them, or if there's a flag on the cluster that says turn on the API, by default it's off.
Right.
Because if it's being deprecated, it'll be nice for it to disappear sooner.
Yeah. Well, if it's going away, then we end up with a property that on the CRD that's, I guess.
Yeah. So you're saying do nothing?
Right.
And how do we start engaging with people that have dependencies on the API, and getting those that code to be upgraded as well to stop making a reliance on it?
Yeah. Is this one the Set Manager module?
Yeah, I think so.
And also the Prometheus module. Did you get that working, or where was that, Jared? Someone got that working.
Oh, Alexander had a work in progress PR up for it. I believe that means that it was, quote unquote, working for him. I have not had a chance to take a look in depth at that though.
I think that's the last scenario for API that we need to keep it for, at least. That it collects the Prometheus metrics, right?
Yeah. What's the adding, removing nodes and disk drives?
I think that would cover, being able to update, kubectl update cluster.yaml to be able to add new nodes and new devices and things like that. That's come up a bunch of times recently too. That seems to be
It's being able to add nodes to your cluster and add disk drives to a running, Ceph cluster. Also removing disk drives and nodes, and dealing with failed drives.
Yeah.
But making sure the scale out is there.
And logging, what's the proposal for logging beyond what we're doing right now? We use caps and log, right, from the CoreOS team?
I don't know that, is it even worth mentioning? Maybe a ticket or two on them, but it doesn't. It seems like it's in a good place right now, or sufficient, at least. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as a high level milestone theme, but there is an issue, or I think maybe just one issue about being able to define define granularity on the component level. Like I want the operator to be at this level. I want the mons to be at this level.
Right.
In the interest of shortening 0.7, can we move logging to 0.8? If not, just remove it from the list because it's so small.
Yeah.
And I believe there are manual workarounds as well.
Right.
So you're not completely, in the dark.
And this improved data placement, is this just setting up the crush maps based on zone and group information or availability, failure domain information in Kubernetes?
Right.
I've thought this one was also had a focus on performance, like being able to you create pools that only use SSD drives and things like that. So not necessarily just failure domain, but also performance classes.
Agreed.
Well, one example of something we need to do here is Right now, we just have either disk or node durability, and we need to do something that's a little bit more of a hybrid, so that we can actually reliably tolerate node failures.
So by setting crush maps, right?
By setting crush maps.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we move operator runs H8 to O.8? I just feel like O.7, we want it to be short, right?
And that's yeah, okay. And shut down and restart issues. This is the cleanup of RBD volumes and all that.
So yeah, that's one part of it, at least, which is now in master, that we will clean up RBD devices for you now. And that's on the main, cleanup path as well. If you follow the documentation, everything will happen nicely for you. But I think that there's a greater, thing to deal with just rebooting, like when CoreOS, let's say, gets a new update and a node gets restarted. Do we die? We don't want to, but I believe we don't handle it very well at all, which is totally different than cleaning up RBD devices, because you still want the block devices to survive, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't really know what the solution is here right now either, but this looks like it'd be quite possibly a hairy bug.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of hairy things on this list, and what KubeCon's in 1 month from today, right? Exactly in 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah. Whew.
So for shutdown restart issues, is there a specific work item there, or is that?
Well, you don't die when a node in the cluster gets restarted. If it uncleanly, that's a work item. I don't know what the actual solution is or how to handle it, but at least the cleanup has been taken care of nicely with 0.6, I believe.
Right, we're done.
So if we look at this list, the 0.7 list, what's cuttable from that? Before you move that, Bassam, is this Prometheus Ceph Manager module deferrable?
Potentially yes, but there's also a pull request already open for it that has at least a semi-working solution set up. So that's something that's to remember there.
And who's that by?
Alexander.
Okay. And then
honestly, I feel like these three are not cuttable for beta.
well, tell me what the run everywhere one is again.
Oh, this is the ability to use CephFuse and NBD RBD or whatever we end up using for, if you're running a kernel version that's not compatible, or you're don't have RBD installed on the kernel level, then you can still use Rook.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bassam, that depends a lot on the non-propagation feature, which is alpha 1.8. So if it's still alpha 1.9, then we will have to have user, enable that feature.
And yeah, I mean, there's a class of things that we are gonna need to make changes in Kubernetes for. And I think every time we talk about this, is like we have to have an active role in asking for these changes. So we shouldn't wait around and ask for it to be, see what they do with it. We should go ask specifically for it to become beta or enabled and make a case for it.
Can we structure this list into a 0.7 must-have and a 0.7 like that Prometheus Ceph thing? It's great there's a pull request out, but we would still ship 0.7 without it, I think. Is there a way we can structure the list to take that into account? Because then I think there's something like performance testing for block storage. I don't know. Could that be in that group?
Yeah.
So if we list, what group is that? What'd you do there?
Let's say the must-have. This will be nice to have.
I still don't understand the shutdown restart work item. You know, when issues come up, we'll look at them.
Are there no issues we know about there?
And I believe there is an issue open. And someone was hoping it'd be solved by some sort of restart manager that CoreOS has, and that didn't work. And beyond that, I don't know. But there is something concrete
Well,
open.
this is how you drain nodes in that shutdown scenario?
Basically.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of the issues here is that we're talking about, either a time-based release or a release that declares something beta, and they're conflicting. So,
Well, with Thanksgiving in the mix, we're talking about sort of 3 weeks of work if we want to release before.
that's right.
And I'm going to have to allocate some resources onto that adding and removing nodes.
Yeah.
And so that's fewer resources. I understand why it's in the nice to have list, but it means fewer resources for the must have list.
Right. I mean, one suggestion would be to say we stick with 0.7 as not being time-based, but being quality-based. And
I think for KubeCon we actually have a pretty good story with 0.6. Maybe it's 0.61.
I think so.
And maybe that's the go-to-market for KubeCon.
I think so too. So if our goal with 0.7 is to declare the cluster and pool CRDs beta, I think we should get this stuff working.
Well, so our call to action at KubeCon would be help us prove this and declare beta.
Yeah.
So it is in the past, with our release process, doing minor releases, it's possible, but it also comes with the overhead of having to backport basically everything we want to go in. So if we have almost a full month of work that we're gonna have to does that mean we have to backport all of it to zero?
I assume that 0.61 would be a bug fix on top of 0.6. So something that's
Well, it could be 0.6. It could be 0.65 or something that's from master.
Oh, so you can cut it from master instead of having to do it out of the 0.6 release branch?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, we can label it wherever we want to label it.
Yep.
So. Without the run everywhere and local storage and some of the non-reliability stuff, it's really hard to declare this a beta. And actually, even some of the crush map stuff. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this?
I think we need to emphasize driving towards beta for KubeCon less.
Okay. Well, in that
we're
case,
just not going to get there, and so I think the question becomes, how can we become solid and strong for KubeCon, with our story, and continue development on 0.7.
Okay.
What is run everywhere a must for beta? Isn't the RBD kernel, the current RBD kernel has been working? If it's there, most of the time it's there pretty well. Does that still need? I agree that we need to do this, but does that have to be a must in for beta?
Well, I mean, we just talked about Ceph Fuse as an example, and
right,
we know that. Yeah, we know there are places where RBD is either old, stale, or not even there. To me, it sticks to the value prop around Rook, which is run storage wherever Kubernetes runs.
Yeah, I was mostly focusing on the RBD side, block storage, because that's what we want to define beta. Ceph Fuse is more for file system.
Well, the other argument is that it's on the data path, and it's hard to declare, I don't know. I mean, it feels to me like making the runtime selection on a data path is something that we should get right early.
Okay.
But they tell me I feel like we're plumbed right now to support this. I just don't know. I'm sure we're going to run into issues with it.
And Bassam, what's the gist of the work items to enable that? Because now that we have the Rook agent pod, we can put a little proxy in there and whatnot. But
yeah, I think what it means is that we decide, the Rook agent decides what the best way to do block and file is going to be for that node, and then it will. There could be hints as well from at the cluster level, even pool level. But it will decide whether to use the kernel modules, or it will start one of CephFuse or NBD RBD DCMU runner and run them in the agent as a child process in the agent. So, and by doing so, it doesn't, like the CephFuse examples is great because that means that there's no, besides Fuse, there's no other kernel activity, and we get to run with multiple namespaces and all the features that are supported in Luminous. Same is true for NBD, RBD, and DCMU runner.
Okay. One thing that I'm seeing here is that I currently have a one-page design for dynamic provisioning file system. Do you want it for 0.7? Do you guys want it for 0.8? I thought we decided for 0.7, but based on this list and what we talked about, where should that fall into?
This is the pull request that's already open on this, the dynamic provisioning?
Yeah, the pull request is for the design page, yes. Is that still a 0.7 item?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'd say, we would prioritize block storage for 0.7, but I don't know what's involved yet.
Okay, so maybe 0.8 then, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, I'd say, let's get 0.6 out of the door, and let's get the designs in for, I saw this one, let's get a design in for these two. And maybe the adding, removing nodes. So that at least we'll know what's involved, what the scope of work is involved. And then let's get back together and figure out, what's in, what's out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Steve, are you driving this one? The
Sure.
run everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Travis, you're driving these two? The design?
Right. And durability, yeah, local storage and mono reliability. And now Xander's helping a lot with the mono reliability too.
Great. And then, I guess, Jared, you're driving the shutdown issues and the placement stuff?
Yeah, I certainly can. It's like, might want to start focusing on the adding, removing nodes and lifecycle stuff first, though.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Or just delete it and then solved.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if we can get a design push in, get the designs reviewed, and figure out where we stand scope wise.
Okay. Hey, Bassam, could you also add dynamic provisioning file system somewhere in the list so that we can track it as well, whether it's 0.8, 0.6? Yeah.
And then also for tracking, I don't know if we've always done a good job of when we're focusing on a design that we also have an issue on the board for it as well. But if we're going to front load some of our design work now for this current milestone we're about to embark on, then I would love to everyone have a ticket open on the board so we can track that work.
I agree.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Bassam, are you going to KubeCon?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Woohoo. Cool.
Hopefully we get to announce Rook.
So should we?
We're certainly gonna talk a lot about Rook, regardless of what happens. We should talk briefly about Rook birthday party.
Oh yeah, when is that?
Wednesday, Bassam.
This Wednesday.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
So one idea is to do a T-shirt, make it available on Amazon, let everybody who wants one buy one, and then have Rook birthday party T-shirt day at KubeCon. Obviously, we want to do some social media around the birthday, or I think we do anyway.
I wonder if the social stuff can go along kind of for the ride with 0.6 release stuff.
Yeah,
like 0.6 release on the birthday.
Yeah.
Looks like we're heading towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's definitely do that. Yeah.
And even if the release moves a little bit, we can be a little bit flexible when the birthday is.
Yeah.
That's
a great idea.
Yeah. Did we get a name on because Travis is finishing up the blog for the EBS stuff, and did we get a name for the 0.6 release or birthday blog?
No.
You mean an assignment?
Yeah, an assignment. Yeah, because if we want it for for this release, then getting that work doled out. Is that something I should take? I know Travis is pretty loaded right now.
That would be great, Jared.
Okay, I will take that then.
Guys, I have to hop off. I have another meeting. Can we continue the discussion about the birthday thing on Slack?
Sure.
All right.
Is your meeting with your taking to school?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, 10 o'clock.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Bassam.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, so then everyone who's still left on the call here, so do we have it clear, who's going to be doing what this week?
I think I got the performance blog, you got the other blog. Steve has the only ticket.
Yeah, the FFS stuff. And the updating the release notes and stuff.
Yep. And then what's the design one that you took, Steve? Is that the run everywhere?
Yeah, I'll work that on. I'll work on that.
And then I've got design for storage, lifecycle, adding, remove nodes and stuff like that. And the blog for 0.6 release in general and birthday.
But I thought Travis was writing that already.
The which one?
Add, remove nodes and drives.
Oh yeah, that one I'm working on for Castle actually. That's right.
Oh.
The ticket in the Castle board.
So we might need did you have 3 different designs, Travis? We might need to do some load balancing there then.
Well, just that design. Oh, the Mon failover design. That was more of a brain dump on the current state of things.
And is that something that Alexander is driving, or
the Mon failover?
The Mon failover.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of tickets around it that he's happy to work on. I don't think there's a lot of design work around that so much. Mm-hmm. So it's really anyway. So I think just the performance blog and then finishing this Castle requirement for scalability. I don't feel like I'm overloaded with those.
What about all the local storage stuff? Like that's massive, isn't it?
Right. Well, and that one basically just keep getting put on hold for these other priorities. So, yeah. So maybe it makes sense to load balance the other one, especially if you're looking for the next thing to do. There.
Yeah, it sounds like that I'm finally opened up here now and need something to chew off here for in this front loaded design work that we're going to focus on right now. Travis, you and I could talk about it too, about where you are with everything and where I can fit in, so we can take that offline, you and I.
And also the new
Right.
person, Xiao, he also expressed interest on collaborating on the local storage stuff as well, design part. So
Right.
maybe that's something we can have work in conjunction with him.
Yeah, I think on Slack we were talking about Alexander and him talking to Travis and I about that. So we'll meet up with them and do that. But yeah, in general, I think having a single owner from the core team makes a lot of sense for each area. Instead of kind of a dissemination of responsibility where there's no real accountability. I hate it. I hate doing that, and I always want to avoid that.
Yeah, but I feel like in open source, like once you're given a responsibility or you assign a name in a GitHub issue, they take, at least I do, I take ownership and pride on that, and I don't want to let the community down. So it also seems to be positive as well, because you involve them more. I don't know, but
Well, I mean, so I totally agree with you, Stephen. That first step is to get issues open for the things and put names on them, which we don't actually have right now.
Yeah.
So once we do get a name on it, then sure, then the accountability and responsibility is there. But we need to take that first step to get names on things in a more formal way.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jared, for your release blog, I have some idea I was thinking about for the community piece. I will send you some inputs.
Okay, that's great, Dave. Thank you.
Hey, Dan, I didn't understand the whole Amazon birthday T-shirt. So each of us has to buy our own T-shirt? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's open source, dude.
Okay.
Wait, didn't you say there was an issue with becoming an Amazon reseller and things?
But we are.
We are a reseller?
People some.
We've become.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So if those T-shirts are like, make sure they're well priced, because otherwise people will not buy them.
Well, we're not taking any royalty on it, so there you go.
Because normally those stuff like tech T-shirt, you normally get it for free, right? Only people that work for the company will buy them.
You realize we're being recorded, Steve.
Okay, I'll say no more.
Wise choice. Anything else?
No.
Right. Thank you.